Stories about work that I've done for actual real-world clients recently. These are from Wednesday, April 14th, continuing from where I left off. This is one of the elderly, disabled, government-assisted apartment buildings. On-site service regarding internet down, determined network switch powered down, likely due to overheating due to clogged ventilation. Performed in-place cleaning of externally accessible areas and restarted device which restored internet access. So what happened is they had called me saying their internet was down and that they had already called their internet service provider and were told that their router is up and running and that the internet service provider could connect to it. When I arrived, they have this box, a cabinet mounted up high on the wall, open a panel, and there's a few pieces of equipment in there, and one of them, network switch, had no lights on it, powered off. The power button was in the on position. Their power cable was connected to a power strip, and the power strip had power to it. It looked to be okay. Took a close look at the vents on each side of the switch. It's a very tight area, difficult to see, not very good access there, but I could tell that there was a lot of dust. So I cleaned the dust off as best I could from there, and I used a can of compressed air to clean out some more. That was a little bit unpleasant in an enclosed office space. But I cautioned the people that were in the room and we got along with it fine. Then I disconnected power and plugged it back in and it came on. The lights are on, internet and network restored. So I discussed with the administrator what next steps would be with this and whether it might be a continuing problem or not, and not totally certain that it shut itself down due to overheating. Could be. It's believable. So that was a 32-minute service call. I left there at 3:29, and at 4:15 I was back. So 45 minutes later, because they called me and said, it's gone down again. But it didn't stay down. It went down and came back up. So when they called me, I asked, well, did everybody experience it going down, or was that just from your computer? She put me on hold and checked with the others. And yes, they reported the same thing, that they had 2 brief outages of the internet connection. So the next time slip, this one beginning at 4:15 in the afternoon, I returned due to reports of 2 additional outages which self-recovered. Replaced power cord and connected directly to wall outlet. Trained Stephen, now I know the correct spelling of his name, he's new in the office. Trained Stephen to check power light and disconnect, reconnect power cable if outages continue. Discuss contingency plans if outages continue. Discussed AT&T, phone and video surveillance equipment, and examined equipment closet. So that was 23 minutes. Now, the thing that I was suspicious of is the power cable coming out of the switch was connected to an old, clearly, visibly old power strip, not surge protector, power strip that was in the railing of the cabinet mounting bracket. And it had a long cord, like about a 20-foot cord going down the wall and over to a wall outlet. And I was just really suspicious. Is there something going on with this power cable or the power strip? I have reason at this point to have high expectations or anticipation that there's something about that switch. So what I did in this instance is I swapped out the power cable that's attached to the switch, and I ran it all the way down to a different wall outlet. So it totally bypassed that power strip. Thinking if we get lucky, we might be better off there. I was interested in getting lucky because that network switch was not provided by me. I believe it was provided by the surveillance camera technician. And I know that the technician has done some programming of the ports, because not all of the ports connect to the internet. So I think he's got some kind of masking or something that causes some ports to not be able to get out to the internet. It's a little weird, and I'm talking from memory from a couple years ago when we had this, but I was setting up another computer in one of their remote private offices. When I connected to the Ethernet cable there, it came up with the correct IP address, meaning an IP address within the scheme of the DHCP, but it was unable to see the copy machine, which was on the same IP subnet. When after I tried a variety of different things, I disconnected from the port that it was connected to on the network switch and connected to another port. Then I was able to get connectivity to the copy machine. So I don't know what's going on there. Are there some protocols that are blocked from the ports that are intended to be used from the cameras? There's no labeling on the switch to tell me which ones are intended for cameras and which are for computers, if that's even what's going on. I just don't know what's going on. And on that particular day, I remember back then, it took me a while to get to the point when I discovered that I could connect to a different port. And I'm not sure if, I don't recall if the computer acquired the same IP address or not. But then I was able to connect to the copy machine, and it was at the end of the day. So I just, it's working. Goodbye. We'll just take the win and go. So if indeed it is the network switch that needs to be replaced, then I'll be making contact with that IP camera technician. So let's see, those are 2 time slips for that same location. And then what do we have next? We've got an attorney next, and that is on the next day, the 15th, attorney's office. Phone and remote support to create new QuickBooks company for a PPP account. This was interesting. Begin compact operations, subsequently aborted due to excessive time, and will reperform after hours. So I know I've talked about creating a new QuickBooks company for this attorney's office before, and I think that was for a different division of law that they wanted to start practicing. This is for the PPP account. That was the payroll protection program, something like that, for COVID-19 relief for businesses. So they provide money to businesses to help them be able to survive with payroll during reduced business operations due to COVID. Well, they wanted a separate QuickBooks company file for tracking how that money is spent. I presume to make it easier to create whatever reports are needed for accounting for how that money is spent. I don't know how that works out. So we decided to take their primary QuickBooks company account and use that as the model for the PPP, because it had the basic accounting codes that she thought was going to be more conducive to the PPP company file. Well, this company file is much larger than their other company files. So the way it works with QuickBooks Desktop is you do a compact operation, and you can tell it what data you want to eliminate. So for instance, you could eliminate all the transactions before a certain date. And what's going to happen is it's going to eliminate all the transactions before that date, but it's going to maintain the account balances as of that date as if the transactions were still there. So therefore, the company file is smaller, more compact. Well, there's an option within there to remove all the data. So I selected that to remove all the data, and it just ran and ran and ran. And we were doing this during business hours, and we started it during business hours because I told her I didn't think it was going to take very long. But it was taking long. So we bailed on it, and I told her, look, I'll just do it after hours. So I'll connect to it remotely and do that after hours. So I did connect to it remotely after hours. Now there was another complication for that. Is that going to be on another time slip? I'm scrolling down to see. Yeah, I don't see that. Interesting. I'm going to have to go back and see if I neglected to put in that other time slips. But the problem that came up was it eventually produced a message saying I cannot delete all the prior transactions because one or more of the accounts are associated with a credit card, either bank transactions, online bank transactions, or credit card processing. And you're not allowed to clear out the data related to those, something to that effect. It was weird. Now I don't know if I want to go into too much of that. If there's another time slip that deals with that later, I'm going out a little bit further to see if that is on another time slip that wraps maybe into the next week. Here we go. Is this going to get? Oh, that's it right there. Yeah, I don't see it. So I'm going to have to go back and see. Maybe I missed putting that time slip in. So I'll go ahead and describe it. So what I did after discovering that problem is as I stopped the operation, I went investigating deeper to find what happened. And it did turn out in 2016, a connection was made to a bank to download transactions. And there were transactions that were downloaded, a couple hundred of them, that were waiting to be added to the check register from 2016. So I figured out how to delete those, how to remove that transaction or that downloaded transaction, and then turn off or disable the connection to the bank. And then I was able to fully compact and create the new company file that she wanted for tracking PPP. So that's it for this session. I hope that was useful to you. Have a great day. Catch you later. Goodbye.